Party people in the place to be, live 58 Dream Street. We're James with Games. Happy Sunday, folks. Hello, Cedric. Happy Sunday. I, uh, I read that in a very much like corner of my eye way while I was doing the introduction. So I didn't know where we were going after. I think it's about time to blow. Uh, Here we are. All right. Happy Sunday, folks. Hope everyone's well. Everyone's having a good weekend. I am on an unbroken run of bad sleeps, but thanks to the time change and the fact that Danielle and I went to bed early last night to begin with, it didn't matter. I'm well rested for the first time since last week, which is great. You got to take the victories that you can get. So yeah, I don't really know what's going on, but I just like I'm either like go to bed and then the fatigue goes away and I'm just awake, or I've been falling asleep and then I wake up at like 2 and I'm like, can we start work? Like, got nothing else going on here. I can't get back to sleep. Worked out today. Happy time change, everybody who celebrates. Uh, I'm mostly past the point in my life where it's that important to me. But during the decade of my life, near decade, where I was a hospital janitor while putting my way through school and then through doing the underemployed, overeducated millennial thing during the great financial crisis, uh, the time change days were very significant because fallback was precious. So, if you gotta be at the hospital for 7:30. Well, if you get an extra hour, like, oh man, you can have an almost normal night the night before, and then still sleep. And then spring forward, of course, is cruel torture. I had been on such a great run since I got my ADHD diagnosis. Oddly enough, taking the methylphenid did a lot for me being able to sleep at night. But we've hit a wall. I got to figure it out, and I will in time. So I've fallen short of my goal. My goal is one time between now and the end of 2025, a very messy year, to do all 4 of the regular streams that I do, which are Greg and James something something. Normally Greg and James beat them up, but we're doing the Ghosts and Goblins gimmick. Friday night Frosthaven, maybe not on Friday, but the Frosthaven part at least, and then play games on the 2 days on the weekend. This week I'm not hitting that target because I was not able to stream yesterday, but we're in the vicinity because we're going to do a doubleheader today. I don't think there is that much left of our Crimson and Diamond playthrough. So once we wrap that up, I'll use whatever time I still have to play some Suikoden. 2. Dunan Unification War. I will not update the GOG Galaxy app right now, but what I will do is remember I need to adjust some volume levels. There we go. And let's fire it up. For anyone invested in the ongoing story of James trying to become a real live drag queen, no real progress to report. No catastrophes. Nothing went horribly wrong. I did not. We were at drag shows on Friday night and Saturday for brunch, and I did not succeed in the very basic goal of putting myself out there in any way. But it could have been worse because I could have put myself out there and been told, like, go to hell, breeder. I did get jokingly called a breeder, or at least Danielle did. So I guess me by proxy. It's weird. I'm not a shy person. I don't know if that comes across. It's tough to say whether that would come across or not when we're talking about sitting in my room speaking. The plot is very thick right now. We just retrieved the blasting cap. because Krieger? No, I don't remember what the Krieger? Whatever the villain name is of the guy who's a spy. He's off to do his sabotage. Our main villains of the main plot are Nessa and Corvus are off trying to, you know. Yes, Albert. So we're here in much better shape than how I got here the first time. And a lot of that turned out to be I was missing one thing mechanically, which is after you lift a print from a thing, a lot of the time you then need, I guess I could have also done it by typing the compare fingerprints now that I think about it. I only used that the one time for the scripted mission. But you needed to do a follow-up. It's not enough to just lift the print, even if the text after that seems to tell you what the answer is. You need to do one more thing to make it officially Nancy's knowledge. And so that has done a lot for getting us set up here. It's coming together. So anyway, yeah, I'm not a shy person. It is intimidating. I do have a specific hang up. I think I'm getting the picture here. Albert isn't who he says he is. I believe he's heading to the Sulaks to sabotage them with explosives. I found a bullet and blasting caps in the blue trunk. Albert is probably armed. And is fairly well acquainted with how to use explosives, seeing as how he knew to store his dynamite and blasting caps separately. I don't know if you need to be that well acquainted. I don't know the first goddamn thing about like using dynamite in a proper or improper manner. But I do know enough to know not to put the blasting caps with the actual sticks. This doesn't bode well. I agree with that. And I think he tossed my luggage out of the train to eliminate my field kit so that I couldn't interfere with his sham field work. She's right about that. I need to head to the carriage house and tell Jack, Nathan, and Ranger Murdoch. And so we shall, Nancy. I don't think anything's going to happen to set me back, but I might as well save after we get through that. So yeah, I do have a little bit of hang up about putting myself out there with performance art kids, because I had some bad experiences with theater kids who I thought were, in some cases, my friends, and one specific case, the love of my life in the past. But generally, yeah, not a very shy person. But there are layers of self-consciousness you can develop when you're also in a relationship and your partner's around, and you got to think about how they feel about everything you say. That's a weird guy thing that I've had to deal with a lot in my life. So I don't have a lot of filters and social graces and stuff. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I'd be pissed. Javawatt, welcome. The field kit's not cheap, I can't imagine. For the most part in this game, although, you know, we just got the programming isn't always like so tight that the animations can shine, but I think generally Julia Minamata's animations are very good. I do think that when Nancy gets to stairs, she kind of takes them like an old lady or like someone who's never walked in heels before. She does not seem confident that she isn't going to wipe out. So yeah, so I chickened out of having any meaningful interactions where I said, hey, you know, don't be fooled by the fact that I'm, you know, old looking. Now, I mean, I'm not old looking except for the shiny gray flecks, but you know, I would like to do this, but I think I'm pretty good. What do you think I should do? So I didn't do that, but all hope is not lost because there's a lot of drag going on in the city, and I, at least temporarily, am flush with cash. So next weekend, we'll see if this can work out better. Oh! What's this? The double doors have been thrown wide open. You can hear Ranger Murdoch and Jack inside the carriage house. They look nonplussed. Jack, what's going on? The automobile's gone, Nancy. I can see that. Someone must have picked the lock on the driver's side door and made off with it. I think Albert's stolen the automobile. You hear a rumbling. Is that Thunder? Nope, that's Nathan. He went and got his automobile. Tell me what you know on the way. Time's a-wasting. Let's go. Right. It's going to be a bit of a tight squeeze and a bumpy ride. It's actually Evan's father's old car. I've managed to keep it running decently well, though the shocks are pretty stiff. Decently well? It'll be fine, Nancy. Just hang on tight. And away we go. I think Julia Minamata forgot to do forward walking frames for Ranger Murdoch. It kind of looked like he was just a paper doll moving. You all pile into Nathan's automobile and head for the mine. Oh, also, setting aside, lots of drag shows happening in the city right now. Also, at the bar that we go to drag brunch at all the time, they'll be doing watching parties for the upcoming season of Canada's Drag Race because our local queen, Miss Maya Fox, is on that season. So there's okay. I got to reassure myself here because it is really frustrating. I only have to wait 1 week for my next chance to try to not be a coward. But it'd be a different thing if I was 23 years old. Don't feel like I've got time here to dawdle. Miss Cardinal, I'm sorry we couldn't meet under better circumstances. I've never really settled on what the fuck Ranger Murdoch's supposed to talk like. I understand your reluctance to be involved with the authorities. It's entirely justified. Evan's in danger. I will help my friend. We can figure out the rest later. I will safeguard you from any consequences of going off reservation. I promise. We get a little moment here to reflect on our nation's not-so-proud history. Let's deal with that later. I think Albert's stolen the automobile. You said that, Nancy. You do? What makes you think so, Nancy? Albert's luggage is gone, and his room is a mess. It looks like he left in a hurry. Albert had so much luggage, and Jack said it was very heavy. Sure was. There's no way he could have handled all that luggage himself, unless he took the automobile. I think he's driving it to the Sulaks to destroy it. He's not a Belgian mineralogist at all. He's a German spy. Okay, so now finally, I should have caught this line before. I was supposed to be doing a Belgian accent for Albert the entire time, which I did not. Oh well. And his name might actually be Carl L., but not Lagerfeld. Carl L. Where did you hear that name? I found this telegraph tape and stick of dynamite in Carl's room. And I found a bullet and a blasting cap in the blue trunk where he was storing some of his things. I think Carl is highly knowledgeable about explosives, armed and dangerous. Fantastic detective work, Nancy. I need to notify the appropriate authorities and follow up on this imminent threat. Oh, also, I think Albert's got a gun. He's been storing bullets in the blue trunk. And he's knowledgeable with explosives. She's excited. She's repeating herself. It's okay. He was storing the blasting caps and dynamite separately. I think you're dealing with a professional saboteur, one that's armed and dangerous. Got it. I'll keep all of that in mind when we confront him, Nancy. Thank you. Please be careful. I will. I'll tell you how it goes when we meet again. Mr. Cardinal, could you please drop me off at the train station? I can send an urgent telegram for reinforcements. We'll have rangers at the Sulaks as soon as possible. Of course. But first, to the Garnet Mines, the closer. Good idea. Telegrams travel faster than any automobile. Albert will take some hours to arrive at his destination. Nathan stops his automobile as close to the garnet mine as he dares. The ground is rugged, and any roads leading to and from the area have fallen into disrepair many years ago. A bit of stealth is imperative as well. It wouldn't do for Nessa and Corvus to be alerted to your presence. The consequences for Evan could be dire. You and Jack watch Nathan turn the automobile around to head for the distant train station. It's all up to you now. Excellent job. Kudos on your thorough investigative technique. But you said that to me so many times last time, and then at the end of the game, you're like, child could have probably done better than you, stupid. The mine entrance has been blasted shut. This can't be where Nessa and Corvus took Evan. Excuse me one moment. Great. Oh no! My theory's wrong! Nancy, wait a minute. This is the closest entrance to the mine. They were on foot. Not to mention, this is fresh rubble. Most likely, they did use this entrance, but the entrance collapsed after them. Abandoned mines are dangerous places. We have to be careful. Chapter 6. Confrontations. How are we going to get in? Dunno, but I'm going to grab that shovel, start digging. Jack starts digging at the rubble, at the mine entrance. I think that one probably didn't even need a narrative box. I've got to help Jack with this. The game is autosaved. A note has been added to your notebook. I think probably I don't need it. Like, I don't need to consult it. Yeah, gain entrance to the mine. We must remember to create a little branch in time here and blow Nancy up. Help Jack. How would you like to help Jack? Move rocks. Sorry, you can't do that. Offer to help. Never mind. Never mind. Although, apparently the game accepts offer as well as like give show for items. The rubble does look fresh. It could be that Nessa and Corvus did enter the mine from here. Jack is here. Look at the ground. Piles of rubble surround the buried entrance of the mine. See an old discarded plunger detonator among the debris. It's a reel of wire near some bushes. Take the wire. You take the reel of wire. I wonder if I can figure out a faster way to clear this rubble. Disclaimer. The developer of this game assumes no responsibility or liability for any errors or omissions in any of the processes depicted, particularly dangerous ones involving explosives. Do not attempt anything in this game in real life. I'm going to come out and say it, though. I think everybody should take a shower. You know, if you can, once a day. I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying. Like, besides the hygiene aspect. Feels good to have a shower. Nice hot shower. You should lock the door too, just in case, like if there's multiple people in the home or you're generally paranoid about being murdered. But there are other things we shouldn't imitate about the game. If you're in a stranger's house, don't take one of their dinner plates and then start rubbing rocks all over it. Take the plunger. I wonder if I can figure out a faster way to clear this rubble. I now have a plunger detonator, wire, blasting cap, and a stick of dynamite. I wonder if I could rig this up to blast the mine entrance open. So on the one hand, like, for the integrity of the character, it's good that they didn't just keep her going. I wonder if there's something I could do here. It is, you know, obviously Probably better puzzle design if you just don't spell that bit out to the player. All at the same time. You'd like to think most players probably just get it. Okay. So if I connect the wire to the plunger, that's not the way. You need to cut the wire from the reel. Cut the wire. You need to insert the blasting cap. It's a good thing that Nancy, her dad was in construction. So she knows all about this. You carefully insert the blasting cap into the dynamite. Cut the wire. I need to insert the wire into the blasting cap before I insert the other end of the wire into the plunger. You stick the end of the wire into the blasting cap, which has been inserted into the dynamite. Then cut wire. I'm all set. I just need to cut the wire from the reel and insert the cut end into the plunger detonator. You don't have any wire cutters right now. You don't see any here. I wonder where I could get a pair of wire cutters. I'm so close. Ask Jack for wire cutters. Would you happen to have any wire cutters, Jack? I do, actually. I was just restringing my guitar, Nancy. Perfect. May I borrow those? I'm pretty sure, maybe not 100% of the use I've ever made of wire cutters in my life, but quite possibly. And certainly well above 90% of my use of wire cutters has just been to cut guitar strings. Did he give them to me? Sure thing. He had to think about it. Well, he was like, he's an older guy. He didn't want to put the strain of trying to talk on his heart while he was also lifting rocks with a shovel. Here you go, Nancy. Wire cutters. Well done. Thanks. I did look on Wikipedia and saw something that said critics praised the game, but there was some criticism leveled at the puzzles being too hard. And I'm sorry, critics, but this isn't even a case where it's like, whoa, sometimes gamers, capital G gamers, get mad at a critic because they perceive them as not being an expert level player. They're like, you need to get good before you can judge this game. That's not what I'm saying, but the puzzles in this game, where most of the solutions are just realistic things that Nancy will describe to you as you puzzle your way towards them. Come on. Using the wire cutters, you snip the wire from the reel. Connect the wire to the plunger. Insert the wire into the plunger detonator. The explosive is rigged. It's time to set it off. Okay, sweet. We even get a save right here. Now we can have auto saving on. Or maybe not. Maybe I just turned it off somehow. It doesn't matter. Okay. Tell Jack the plan. Talk to Jack? Tell Jack about dynamite. Jack, have you ever heard of dynamite? I've managed to cobble together an explosive to help clear the rubble. I don't know if cobble together is the word I would use when she's just using all the conventional components of a dynamite blast. Oh, wow. That could work. Set it up when you're ready. I'll keep shoveling at this rubble just in case it doesn't work. All right. Place the dynamite. Set dynamite. Jack, I'm ready to set the explosive charge. Got it, Nancy. Give me a second. All right, we're about to go. We're about to go into the darkest timeline, where plucky little Nancy blows herself up for our amusement. Ready? He carefully placed the rigged dynamite close to the rubble. I wonder if we could have got a hole that would let both Nancy and Jack go in if she had put it in the rubble. because of how explosions work.
Okay, we're all set.
Oh no, we're out of space. What am I going to do? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to randomly delete a bunch of older saves. All right. Push the plunger.
Here goes.
I can't tell if we missed. I don't think we missed any gore. Oh, there's Nancy. Okay.
Nancy?
Oops. Maybe step back a wee bit. Her shoes are left behind. Okay. Yep. I think it was the right move to go with slapstick instead of like a Space Quest 3 style detailed rendering of Nancy's blown off front. Move the plunger. Move the plunger behind the rock. All the different things that as you're doing it, Nancy's narration will guide you through. But she has no comment on, I better make sure to put the plunger in a safe place. Or am I sure I should be pushing this right now while it's here?
I've taken the plunger and placed it out of harm's way. Fortunately, the wire is long enough.
Well, you cut the wire, Nancy. It's not a coincidence.
Here goes nothing.
But yeah, if we couldn't see the dynamite when it went off, I think Nancy and Jack could go in together. And then we could just, Jack could just beat. I assume Jack could beat Corvus in a fight. He's a little older, but like, come on.
That was a bit anticlimactic. Well, it was only one stick of dynamite after all. Yeah, one stick can only do so much.
Is it Armageddon? Where they do the, if you put a firecracker in your hand and let it go off, you're just like, it burns. But if you hold it, you need a new hand. Because, like, both of these people should be smart enough to have realized that. It's okay. I understand. For dramatic effect. Okay. Check rubble? You and Jack have managed to create a Nancy-sized hole in the rubble.
I think I can squeeze through.
Because it didn't have too many of those raspberry cave cookies. You can see an old discarded plunger detonator amongst the debris. Nancy's like, that's my hole. That was made for me. Enter hole.
All right, I can fit through this opening.
Nancy, this is really dangerous. Let's widen this hole some more so I can go too.
Evan's in danger. There's no time to lose.
Calm us, Blaze.
You keep working on the rubble and follow when you can.
I wouldn't have put that comma there because the conjunction is not introducing a new independent clause.
Okay, Nancy, you're the boss.
You be careful, you hear?
I will, I promise.
Look at her go.
Wait! Before you go, it's gonna be dark as night in
Before you go, Jack, did you see how slowly she went through that hole?
It's gonna be dark as night in there. Darker even. Take this lantern.
Also, instead of Nancy turning around and squeezing back out, we could just pass the lantern through the hole. Jack lights the lantern, hands it to you.
I've got another one. Don't you worry. You're not the only one with big pockets. Good luck, kiddo. Thanks, Jack.
Squeeze through the small hole in the rubble and enter the mine.
Oh, wow.
Seeing the lantern's light, reflected brilliantly on the thousands of red crystals embedded in the walls, you're suddenly reminded of why you traveled to Crimson in the first place. It's for the rocks. If the situation weren't so dire, you'd be dazzled by this cave of natural wonders. Instead, the red gleams look like blood is beating on every surface, just waiting to fall. Shiver. Tirana feels like it's 1,000,000 kilometers, and 1,000,000 years away. Keep it in metric.
Oh dear, it's so dark in here.
Which, like, wait, hold on. We looked into this, but I gotta check again. I gotta reconfirm. Metrication came to Canada in oh, of course, we don't get a whole lot. Looks like we would have started around the 50s or 60s. Oh well.
I need to figure out which way Nessa and Corvus have taken Mr. Richards. If, indeed, they came this way at all.
All right. I don't remember exactly what the answer here. I mean, I know it was investigating and not trying to go off in any direction. The Garden Mine's interior is much cooler than the outside. The air feels stale and still. You're grateful for the lantern's light, though the warm glow quickly gets swallowed by the darkness. The deeper you move into the mine, stiller and staler the air feels. Happy Sunday, Tashtari. The lantern casts flickering illumination on the edges of nearby rocks, richly studded with red and white crystals. You can see a piece of heavy mining machinery. Look at the machinery. See the rim of a large wheel, some indications of a large piece of heavy machinery. Examine it. You'll need to get closer. From what you can see in the lantern's light, the machine consists of a hopper, a pair of flywheels, and other bits that you can't identify.
This looks like a jaw crusher. It would coarsely grind up the garnets, but more processing is required to grind them fine enough to be sold as an industrial abrasive.
You also see discarded rocks of various shapes, sizes, and colors scattered on the floor under the machine.
Garnets get fed into the hopper, the flywheels are turned, which activates some kind of grinding mechanism, and the ground up rocks empty out into this bucket placed underneath.
Examine that bucket. You look inside the metal bucket. It's 1/3 full of coarsely ground garnets, smaller than gravel, but larger than sand.
When industrial abrasives are sold, they're ground finer than this. This is the first stage of grinding. An impact crusher would be used to grind these coarse garnets even finer than this.
Okay. There is this missing piece, isn't there? where I've not managed to rub the diamonds, the rock salt, on the ruby. What? Oh, wait. Finally. Okay. Before, Nancy was just like, I couldn't do this. But now it's officially hers, I guess. Reasoning that since the ruby cabochon will already need to be polished because of the scratches that you've accidentally caused, you decide to perform a scratch test with the salt sample.
Oh! The stones from the salt sample that didn't dissolve in water have scratched the ruby. Rubies have a Mohs hardness of 9. That could mean these could be diamonds.
Not that we'll ever tell. I just want to save over the existing one. Okay, fine. I don't know why I'm bothering to specifically delete older ones. What difference does it make? Examine the ground. The floor of the garnet mine is covered in dust and rock particles. That, plus the lack of wind and weather, has kept dozens of sets of shoe prints looking as fresh as the day they were made.
The shoe prints still look very clear, but are covered in dust like everything else.
Most of the shoe prints.
Aha! Here are some pointy-toed size 14 men's dress shoe prints. And impressions made by size 8 women's shoes. And size 12 men's boots. I recognize this tread pattern from Mr. Richards' other boots. The 3 sets of shoe prints are the freshest after all. Now, I need to track these shoe prints and discover where they went next. They didn't head up this path. They kept moving eastwards.
They mingle, etc. Okay, at this point, have I been just told to go east? Yes.
Where am I going?
Uh-oh. You aimlessly wander in the mine until the lantern goes out. You did discover the shoe prints, but you didn't discover which way they headed. Oops. Okay. Okay. Oh, here we go.
The fresh shoe prints head east, deeper into the mine. Nothing but dusty miners' shoe prints down this southern path.
There we go. All right.
Gee, I'm glad I was able to track Nessa and Corvus down this path. I hope I can find Mr. Richards before it's too late.
Stupinski, welcome.
Ah! What was that?
Despite the terrifying rumbles and shudders surrounding you, you forge onwards. We're closing the chapter here on the Crimson Diamond. And then hopefully we'll have some time left over to play some Suikoden 2. Not a lot, but more than 0. Here we are. Just as you reach this firelit cavern, your lantern goes out.
Oh no, the lantern is out of oil. There's no turning back now. Sign your will, Evan. Sign my fake will, you mean? If you're so smart, why didn't you just forge Pa's will?
Haha. Awesome. Worst case scenario, more leftovers for you. Danielle made muffins for the office on Friday. And I don't know. They were good muffins. So lucky for me that nobody wanted them. They came back and we have lots of muffins. Yeah. I followed Game 7 last night via the tracker on the MLB website. So just like getting a ticker tape reading of things that happened. It was still pretty exciting, but pretty frustrating. The fact that they, first of all, they went into the 9th inning, 2 runs up, and it still went to extra innings. They had the bases loaded with 1 out in the bottom of the 9th. And then, of course, they had first and third with 1 out when they double played in the bottom of the 11th. Painful. Although it certainly seems like it was exciting. It was exciting enough for me, and I was just getting like a weird, not even as exciting as listening on the radio. Well, not nearly as exciting. Listening on the radio, I'm sure is exciting if you have a good commentator.
Then you wouldn't have to come up with this dumb scheme. If you were so smart, you'd know that Pa's lawyer is still alive. He'd pipe up pretty quickly if an actual will from his client came out of nowhere. But this is a perfectly suitable backup plan. It's much easier to forge your will. If you do as you're told, I'll let you die quickly. Otherwise, you'll starve to death in the dark. And we'll forge your signature anyway.
Why not just forge it?
Nancy's on to you. You won't get away with this. We'll see about that. It'll be her word against ours. I have to rescue Mr. Richards. My first order of business is to distract Corvus.
I failed badly at this last time. I remember there being something different that I thought maybe this is the key. Let's go through my inventory. We don't have much. Oh, yes we do. Just doesn't start you right at the top. All right. Frustrating thing is you get one shot at this, and then if you fail, you're on rails for a very long sequence. Hopefully I'm allowed to load in the middle of that long sequence. What's this jar again? Right. Oh. Jeez. You know what? Now that that's happened. I'm just going to go ahead, click on everything. In case there are revelations that Nancy hasn't had yet. Yeah. We have water. Can't get anything about the button, apparently. Someone's last will and testament. I feel like that was working backwards. But I'm not even reading the text here. I don't think there's going to be anything for us to learn from what might happen here. Okay. I don't know. Do I distract him by being like, hey, I've got the will. Let's try throw button. start to make a move, but the shadows aren't enough to conceal your actions. What was that? Nancy.
Oh! Get her.
Okay. I can't interrupt this. Corvus ties you up. We have to get out of here. Maybe Nancy was followed.
Yes, we do. Hungry, brother dearest? Goodbye, Nessa.
Okay, she's doing the horrible almond murder. Alright, I'm going to say officially, I don't think this is great design. If you only get one chance to distract him, give me a chance to load and try again before we watch an extensive murder scene. And the entire epilogue of the game? I can't remember when. It's going to be a while. All right, we fade to black. Okay, I needed to distract him somehow. They arrive. Evan's dead. Okay. I guess the way to do this is to close it and load it again. Every single time I want to try anything. It does seem that, because I'm actually pretty sure I tried throw button, now that I think about it, was what I attempted last time that didn't work. So, what could I do that isn't trying to take a physical action, since this guy has incredible peripheral vision? Make duck sounds. Talk to Corvus. She doesn't want him to notice her. Okay. So, it's not like I'm going to be able to put out that fire. Can I retreat?
I can't go back that way. The lantern is out.
Wait. Oh, come on.
This is a pretty good place to conceal myself, should Corvus happen to turn his head.
See, the fact that if I tried to do anything, it was like, you can't conceal your movements with the firelight, did not make me think I could walk around. But I'm glad that I can. Okay, throw the button? You don't think that would be a good idea? Okay. This doesn't make any sense, but let's try. Throw the water on the fire. Nope. Throw brooch at Nessa. Throw the brooch at all. Shouldn't they get excited about the brooch? Okay. What is this? Ah, hair. I need to distract Corvus somehow. Just want to throw something. Throw the will. No. Okay. Think, Nancy. No. No thinking aloud in this game. I thought I had a bird call of some kind. All right. What's this again? Oh, I have more blasting caps. God damn it. No. Throw a blasting cap in the fire? Not good enough? Okay. Drop the will. No. Don't want him to notice me, but I do want to distract him, right? Find a way to distract Corvus. Drop the button. Look around. You arrived in an open cavernous area in the mine. The path descends down to a natural platform. It appears the cave-ins that have been rocking the mine have created some deep chasms. An abundance of rocks of various sizes litter the floor. This rockfall looks fresh too. There's a lot more of it. One doorway to the north is still clear. Doorways to the north and east are blocked by rocks. This is a very dangerous area. There's a central doorway that leads further back into the mine, as well as a doorway on the right that is completely clogged with rockfall. You see a large boulder even taller than you in the shadows nearby. You also see a table, a fire, and a wheelbarrow. Take a rock. Pick up a plain rock from the floor. Throw a rock in north door. You're in a good place to do something, but be more specific. You're currently carrying a river rock, a glacial rock, some granite, a plain rock. That's it. Throw plain rock. Throw plain rock at wheelbarrow. Throw plain rock at Corvus. Examine the plain rock. Maybe I'll come up with an idea. You can see tiny red crystals, and even tinier colorless crystals incorporated into the plain rock.
Rocks like these are fairly common in this area. It's not exciting, but still instructive.
Okay, what did that accomplish? Something in your pockets has scratched the ruby brooch. Yeah, no shit. You're unable to perform a streak test on the plain rock using the ruby brooch.
These red crystals are not that easy to access. For that reason, and for my purposes, this rock sample isn't very helpful. It was worth a try, but not every sample is well suited for a streak test. It's still quite pretty, though.
Okay. Thank you, Tashtari, because I was about to say. Okay, an old table was left behind in the cavern. There's some crushed Jordan almond pieces on the tabletop. The wheelbarrow has a broken handle and is filled with huge, heavy rocks. The front brace still looks intact, but this wheelbarrow isn't going anywhere.
Is there any situation where an immobile wheelbarrow could be useful?
Can't use brace in this game. Okay. Wait. Nope. Okay, wait. Look around again. While the fire is a welcome source of light, its flickering in the long shadows it casts lend an air of menace to the scene. Hit Evan with the rock. No. Okay. Hail British. Happy Sunday. If you have any guesses, Nancy has picked a plain rock up off the ground. You think that should have worked? Okay. So basically, I'm parser wrestling now. If I understand you correctly, Tashtari. I have the basic idea of make a sound to get Corvus to go somewhere. Okay. Well, I'll keep parser wrestling for a moment. And then I might ask for a nudge. Oh. That when I started to ask for nudges, it was gonna be like, where should I be trying synonyms in this? You throw the plain rock down the passage, which to be fair is probably a more accurate term to use than hallway for what these things in a mine are. I didn't even have to specify the passage. She'll do that for me.
What was that? Something coming from the middle passage?
I thought I heard something too. I'll take a look. Well, let's be grateful that Julia Minamata did not decide to, at this exact point, demand that her players show that level of technical knowledge. Little cave in. Wait. Okay, good. I was like, is it just waiting for me to do something?
Corvus! What have you done, you oaf?
Either Corvus is inaudible behind the pile of rubble, or unable to reply.
Phew, I didn't expect that to happen. I just wanted to create a distraction.
A note has been added to the notebook. All right.
Corvus?
Yeah. I think pretty much, death by misadventure while in the course of trying to commit murder and fraud. Yep. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Let's see if I can free Mr. Richards while Nessa's preoccupied. 2 against 1 sounds like better odds.
Or one young woman against one old woman, but also while she's kneeling in the rubble. Like, I know it's not really the Nancy Maple way, but come on. Crunch. We're done here. We have plenty of rocks.
Maybe we can turn the tables on her until Jack arrives with help.
Or maybe she's an old lady. And the two of you can just subdue her.
You'd better be digging as hard as I am, Corvus. You always mess things up.
Nessa continues to paw ineffectually through the rubble while chastising Corvus.
Nancy? What are you doing here? You just don't know when to quit, do you? When I get over there, you'll wish you'd never meddled.
Well, we're in luck. 'Cause it's going to take her forever to get over here. Weird to do it from that side of the table, Nancy, but okay. Using the wire cutters, you start cutting the ropes that are binding Mr. Richards. But the hempen rope is tough. You don't make much progress. When Nessa notices you, she'd already done that.
I've got you, dearie.
Nessa pulls a knife out of her skirt pocket. Nessa ties you up tightly with a length of rope and sits you down beside her brother. Okay. Nessa turns menacingly towards her brother.
And now to take care of you.
I gotta let this play out just in case, Ranger Murdoch arrives on time or Nessa sets her skirt on fire and we get a Human Torch death. Nope. It's a murder. In a way, it's in keeping with the tradition of Sierra adventure games. I think this is the worst part. This climax is the worst designed part of the game. Although it's in a unique way. It's not so much the struggle of figuring out some obscure sequence in detail. We'll save as soon as we're at the next crisis point. Is it going to be just throw another rock down the other passage? Who knows? Good catch, Tashtari. Fortunately, I think we can do it now. Maybe. We'll find it. Otherwise, at least we're in a spot where we can load the save. I just really think above all else, if a crazy, murderous, older lady threatens you with a knife, just chance it all. Don't let her tie you up. Okay. Looks like I had done that. I think. Wait, what was the other thing? Hold on. Jar and the brooch, right. Okay. Okay, let's try repeating the rock gimmick. Nope. Throw the brooch. Not, she wouldn't know. Okay. Burn Evans ropes. Can't use burn. Take lantern. As much as you'd like, you're not close enough. Here we go.
Nancy? What are you doing here? You just don't know how to quit, do you? When I get over there, you'll wish you'd never meddled.
Take the lantern. Faster, Nancy.
Stop! Come any closer, and I'll throw this lantern over the edge. You need the light just as much as we do. No one can leave the cavern without it. Jack will be along shortly. It's over, Nessa. You can try getting away, but my dear little brother certainly can't.
What the fuck, Nancy?
Don't come any closer. Stay where you are. You're trying to tell me what to do? How dare you? Why did you ever set foot in Crimson? Why? If it hadn't been for you.
Nessa is so overwrought, she can barely speak. Nessa stamps her foot angrily. Uh-oh.
You're ruining everything.
And then she stomps herself into a cave-in. Fortunately, it's probably going to be a localized villain killer cave-in.
All of my planning, all that I've done, undone by you. You meddlesome slip of a girl. Nessa, be careful. Don't tell me what to do. How dare you?
Nessa pulls a knife out of her skirt pocket.
You'll never leave here alive. Watch out. I said, don't tell me what to do. Oh no.
The whole mine gives a great shudder, and part of the floor gives way. I wonder which part.
Nazi!
Nessa clings desperately to the edge of a now yawning chasm, which has already swallowed her knife.
Ah!
And now Nancy's a woman of action. She won't do anything to resist the crazy old lady.
Nessa? You and Evan both bumbling around, spoiling carefully constructed plans. Ah, Nessa!
A note has been added to your notebook. Take her hand.
Oh, Nessa, do be quiet for once.
I'll say this. I don't have a lot positive to say about Nessa, but she didn't crumble into begging for her life or whatever. She was going to go down with the ship. She was going to die on the principle that actually you're the assholes for spoiling my fraud murder plans. Nessa gasped for breath, recovering from her near-death experience.
You're stronger than you look.
Another reason, Nancy, why you might have tried to just fight the old lady with a knife.
Thanks. I wonder if I could safely secure Nessa. I need to do something before I start standing up, or else she might run off.
Nope. We can't just bash her. Yeah. Tie her with the wire? The huge reel of wire is far too cumbersome to use in this moment. You need something smaller and faster to deploy.
Uh-oh. I'm not sure if I have what I need to do this. Maybe I could have taken something from the lodge before leaving.
Nancy. For fuck's sake, Nancy. All right. Let's run that back. Okay. Look in the trunk. I think I took everything from the trunk. No, nothing else of interest. Okay. Hey, that's good to know. Thank you, Tashtari. At this point, like, minor, like, yeah, let's just skip right to the nudges. Cane, a blanket, an old lamp, and some books. I don't see why it would be the blanket. No. Or the cane. Okay. Green trunk still looks sturdy. That looks like it's seen better days. It's locked. Try inserting the silver key, but it doesn't fit. You realize the padlock on the green trunk is a keyhole and you lack the key. I'm willing to just ask. Do I need to get into this green trunk? No. Okay. Okay. The padlock's still in very good condition. Appears to have spent most of its life indoors, attached to the blue trunk, possibly in this very closet. I think I see an oily spot on the padlock, next to the keyhole. Well, this feels like, I mean, it's not like it's bad to have redundant evidence. This clings to a fingerprint. Ah! Ta-da! Look at the padlock again. It's Albert's. Padlock looks even sturdier up close. I bet this thing would secure just about anything. You retrieve the padlock, taking care not to close it.
Don't have the key after all.
Very heavy, sturdy padlock. It's currently open. We've got a fingerprint off it. Yes. In the interest of expediency, I'm willing to ask. Is it literally just we're going to use the padlock like a super handcuff on her little spindly old lady wrists? Okay. Because I would have driven myself mad trying to find the chains. Oh, okay. Yes. Because the brace is very sturdy. Clip one of her wrists to the brace. It is kind of silly because I think we just like, is the solution of this unarmed old lady is not really going to be a problem? Not sufficient. And also the like, just hit her with anything. Okay. Escape to skip cutscene. Escape to skip cutscene. Excellent job, but even more excellent than normal. Okay. Oh, whatever. I've got the auto save for now. Take the wire. Remember, kids, don't try this at home. Take the plunger. Hooray. And then cap on the dynamite. Put the wire in the cap. Cut the wire. Oh no, I can't. Boom. Score the wire cutters. Cut the wire. Put the wire in the plunger. Tell Jack about boom. No. He's got a plan. Bum, bum. Okay. Oh, contraire, mon frère. Best viewers are already right here. I don't know anything about this pull online. Reputable it MRC. Whoops. Oh, and to the cornfield with you. Because we don't need you and your sham viewers. We're mostly all set, but let's take a moment here, Nancy. See if there are any revelations to be had. Delete a few saves. All right, here we go. There's a slight hitch. Normally, obviously, adventure games are very fast to replay when you know the puzzles. It's a little slower when just everything runs kind of slow. Boom. She makes the hole that was meant for her. Go in the hole. And away she goes.
do 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 do.
Here he comes. Oh, pardon me. Maybe I'm not as caught up on sleep as I wanted to believe, but I'm getting there. We'll get there. I have faith. All right. I can't remember if there's anything important to do. Or I don't know if there's anything to do that's important. Do. How's that shovel? Why not just bring the shovel, Nancy? Just give Nancy give Nessa a good bash.
Too bad. I could have used this when helping Jack clear the rubble outside.
Except that the dynamite was much more efficient. Like, you did okay, Nancy. Examine the ground, discover that there are shoe prints. Take a closer look at the shoe prints. I'm excited for this season of Canada's Drag Race, not just because Maya's on it, although that's a big part of it. I am a fan of Maya, and then also it's just cool that, you know, there hasn't been a Nova Scotian queen before. But also, just it seemed like I've seen one other of the queens, Van Gogh, because she was also at the Drag Brunch show yesterday, and real good. And also, I sometimes have this I just don't get the clever drag names instantly for some stupid reason. Like, there's a local queen named Bunny LePan, and I thought just like, that's a good sounding name, good drag name. And it took me like a week to be like, oh yeah, like Bunny Rabbit. But I understood Van Gogh right away because I went through a phase where I thought it was funny every time anybody referred to Van Gogh, to say, I'm sorry, it's Van Gogh. There. She was really good too. Last season, then you're really going for it. With the high culture for the drag name. If you get Gota in there as well. What was that? It's a cave in, Nancy. Doom, 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 doom. All right, here we go. Van Hoog. Yeah, I buy that. That makes sense to me, Tashtari, based on what little I know of Dutch, but I still think that Van Gogh is a cool drag name. Anyway, last season, like, Danielle and I watched the most recent season, and we had one queen we really liked who didn't even make it anywhere, like, make it to the finals. And another one we liked who I think made it to the finals but didn't win. But it was a lot of, like, I don't know. Whereas it looks like a real murderer's row this year. At least at the pictures we've seen when they revealed all the queens. So I thought, probably it's, you know, you want to be on a season with, like, great competition or whatever. iron is forged in the fire. But I just feel like Maya would have just walked to the crown last season. I'm just, we're just getting through this part. We know what's going on. And also, it's going to take a while here for poor Corvus to be crushed to death. Oh, bummer, Cedric. What disc? Put the heat on in this room. One moment.
Corvus, what have you done, you oaf?
Oh, no. That sucks. I probably told this story before. When I originally had Final Fantasy IX for my PlayStation, there was even though it was brand new, I got it for Christmas. It came with a single scratch on disc 3 that happened to cause exactly one malfunction, which was the ending FMV wouldn't load. So like me and my buddy who were playing together, we finally overcame the final boss fight, and then it just went to black. So we had to wait till the weekend, go down, rent a game I already owned just to fight the final boss again, just to watch the ending. Nowadays, you would just be like, go to YouTube. Excuse me one moment. Oh, good. One of the people who I sent my, oh, hey, anyone who's interested in the Discord, you can get a link to a near complete video of my performance of I'm going to cloud try then drown you to death at the student drag show. Where, of course, just in case anybody had forgotten, I'm not one of the students. I'm the faculty member who's being a cool guy and participating. And then who turned out, oops, I care more about this than any of you. But, ooh, sweet. I certainly hope. This may already be a known thing. And like the fact that Julia Minamata still does on her streams, which I haven't managed to catch yet, stuff about this game and like doing live pixel art, stuff like that, does make me think probably we haven't seen the last of Nancy Maple. I would love to see more of Nancy Maple. I would love to play another Nancy Maple mystery. It's a straightforward character, the plucky girl detective. But it's a fucking great character type. And Nancy's a good version of it. Lock Nessa to brace with Padlock? No. Lock Nessa to wheelbarrow. Anyway, a friend of mine who I sent the video to, when I looked at my text just now, was having an all caps reaction to seeing it. And that's even though this is kind of frustrating. But the best video that has been shared with me so far of that performance cuts off right before the last chorus when I did a death drop at the end of that at the age of 40. No, use is not. There. You hook Nessa's belt loop with the open padlock and close the padlock firmly around the front brace of the wheelbarrow. We're depending heavily on propriety here.
What do you think you're doing?
Nessa struggles to get up, but the wheelbarrow is too heavy, resists her attempts. Nessa screeches in frustration.
Yeah. Well, well. Now that that's over with, come help me with these ropes, Nancy. Right.
And she hops right to it, knowing that she's totally beaten the villain. You managed to untie Mr. Richards, now that you have all the time in the world.
Thanks, Nancy. I guess we should try to find a way out of here, eh?
Oh, he's Canadian.
Find a way out of here, eh? Yes, I think I know the way.
Just a great burden is lifted from Nancy now.
Hey, sis. Looks like you could use some cooling off. We'll come back for you. Maybe. Wait, do you hear that?
You can definitely hear footsteps approaching.
We're in here! Help!
Nancy, is that you, Mr. Richards?
Ranger Murdoch!
Nancy. Nathan's eyes widen slightly as his gaze settles on Nessa, sulking by the wheelbarrow.
I padlocked Nessa to that wheelbarrow.
Oh. I suppose we should deal with that. Just in time to not really be all that helpful. Ranger Murdoch kneels down, cuffs Nessa's hands together. He then cuts Nessa's belt loop with a pocket knife.
Oh, Corvus is trapped behind that rubble in the middle passageway. We should probably get him out.
I don't think this is going to end well for Corvus. Or maybe... Oh, working together. You eventually clear the rubble and free Corvus. He's a bit worse for the wear, but it's only minor injuries. Ranger Murdoch cuffs Corvus just in case. Yes, that seems like standard operating procedure.
Let's get out of here.
Good idea. Ranger Murdoch leads the way out of the mine. You feel incredibly relieved to be out of the mine. It feels like a great weight has been lifted off your shoulders. Like you can move at almost twice the speed you've been moving. The automobile is parked down the hill. And there are more rangers waiting for us at the train station.
How did everyone get here so quickly?
Well, it wasn't quick, actually. I'm not actually a forest ranger. I'm a member of the Northwest Mounted Police. We've been on the trail of a German spy and saboteur who is rumored to be in this area. We believe he is responsible for the bombing of the bridge west of Crimson.
Carl L.
A man known to us as Carl Leffler. You revealed him, Nancy. Well done. Not only that, you tipped us off to what his next target would be.
The Sulaks!
Right again. You can't trust him, Stimpinski. As you know, Canada declared war on Germany a few weeks ago. Of course, at least in this case, we're talking about the war where, the whole thing was appalling and shouldn't have, we shouldn't have put all those young people into a meat grinder over this. As opposed to the war where it was like, oh, this war actually has bad guys and good guys. The bad guys are so bad that Stalin is one of the good guys. It appears operatives directed by the German Foreign Office have undertaken a campaign here in Canada to delay military aid to Europe by targeting transportation links such as railways, bridges, and canals. We strongly suspect that Carl L., a man we know as Carl Leffler, is one of those operatives. He's been apprehended at the Sulaks while setting up explosive charges. And thanks to your impeccable detective work, Mr. Leffler will surely be brought to justice.
Gee, what's going to happen to Nessa? I think I've gathered enough evidence to prove that Nessa poisoned Margot.
Also, she's just right here. We could torture a confession out of her.
You'll be hearing from my lawyer.
Which in this case. Not me, that's for certain. Let's go. Yeah, this is where Corvus draws the line. When she was a bit critical of him for getting almost buried in rubble. He was fine with murder and fraud and all that stuff. Train station is a flurry of activity. Rangers are milling all around, consulting with each other in whispered conversations. Inside, you can hear the non-stop whir and tick of the telegraph machine. The ranger in charge looks up, acknowledges Ranger Murdoch with a nod. Just the man I wanted to see. Thanks to the intelligence you provided, we were able to alert authorities in Sault Ste. Marie about the impending sabotage attack on the Sulaks. They were ready and waiting. Caught the man red-handed with luggage full of dynamite and blasting caps, not to mention a 9mm Luger in the glove box. Imagine his surprise when they called him by his real name. Carl Leffler, aka Albert Resper, German spy and saboteur. I would have loved to have seen the look on his face. All in all, some mighty fine work, Ranger Murdoch. A crisis has been averted. As much as I'd like to take credit for it, Nancy Maple here is the one you ought to be thanking. She single-handedly figured it out. All I did was pass along the information. Well then, my thanks to you, Nancy Maple. You're a Canadian hero.
Thanks.
I'll warn you now. You might have to be an unsung hero at that. I have a feeling the Canadian government won't want to reveal just how vulnerable we were tonight. It could undermine the public's confidence. At a crucial turning point for our country. We're about to find out if getting the good ending gets Nancy her route into being the first Lady Manty.
Oh, I don't mind at all, as long as things worked out for the best.
They did, Nancy, truly. Thank you for your service. Now, what have you got here? We've just come from the old abandoned garnet mine. This is Mrs. Nessa Crabbe. She kidnapped her own brother. She could have done worse and gotten away with it too, except Mrs. Maple here was able to detain her by padlocking her to a wheelbarrow. A rather resourceful and ingenious move, if I may say so.
Oh, thanks.
Ha!
I'd go through it all again just to get to see the look on your face now.
Mrs. Crabbe is also suspected of the murder of a young woman, and Mr. Corvus Shaw is her suspected accomplice. They have a lot to answer for. A busy night. Yes, indeed. Please dispatch some crime scene investigators to the lodge so we can build a strong case. Roger that. I'm heading back down to Tirana now. I need to meet with some higher-ups immediately. The Northwest Mounted Police has commandeered a train back to the city. I've been told you call Toronto home. Toronto home, Miss Maple. Will you join me?
I'm exhausted. I don't think I'm up for more traveling tonight. And I'm not ready to leave Crimson just yet.
Suit yourself. I'll need to take your statement for the report, but that can wait a day or two.
Thank you. I'll need a bit of time to get my thoughts in order.
We do know that Nancy has a tendency to mix her thoughts up and say the same things over and over again. Of course, there's going to be a ton of paperwork to do for this whole caper. I'll be trapped behind a desk for weeks. Do send word when you'll be returning. I'll pick you up from Union Station and escort you straight to the police station.
Will do. Thanks, Ranger Murdoch.
Nathan drives you, Jack, and Evan back to the lodge. Margot's death feels like it happened weeks ago. Your arrival in Crimson feels like it happened months ago. And it feels like years ago when you spoke to your boss, Professor Plummer. Investigating without a license. I'm sorry, Miss Maple.
Ah, my boss! My field work! What am I going to tell him?
Despite the excitement of the evening, you find yourself nodding off, only to be jolted awake when Nathan's automobile hits an uneven stretch of road. Hectares in time. Eventually, not even the bumpy road can rouse you. Nancy, you awake? We're back. Once Jack has roused you from your deep slumber, you make your way upstairs as quietly as possible, lest you wake Kimi.
My goodness, what a night! I've never been so exhausted.
Nice, Cedric. You climb into bed and are eager to fall asleep. As your gaze falls onto the ransacked curio cabinet, you realize there are a few things you may want to bring up with the other inhabitants of the lodge tomorrow morning.
I'd better make some new notes on fresh paper to remind myself. Or I could just decide to go to sleep if I wish.
Did Margot have an accomplice in the ruby brooch theft? Yes.
Yes, I suspect someone helped Margot hide the ruby brooch effectively.
Who was the accomplice? It was Jack.
I'm certain of that. Jack admitted to helping Margot hide the brooch. His fingerprint was on it, clear as day. I found the brooch in Margot's walk-in closet, pinned under a hat. After Nessa and Corvus had already thoroughly searched there, including the hats. Margot was already dead by then. So Jack hid the brooch in there after Nessa and Corvus were finished searching that room. He admitted as much to me when I confronted him about finding his fingerprint on the brooch. Now, about that curio cabinet.
Who stole the pair of antique silver steins? Oh, for fuck's sake. Did I never get around to figuring this out? Or am I just forgetting? Searching my mind. Was it Nathan? I'm going to wait to see if anybody in the audience happens to remember. And actually, my phone is blowing up. I'm a popular guy today. Or at least... Yeah, isn't it just Margot again? Hold on. I'm totally down for Tashtari checking. Boom, 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 boom. Huh. Okay. Hold on. Nathan. Margot stole them. Nathan helped. Okay, so I was vaguely remembering correctly. And I know we did figure that out.
Margot's fingerprint was the only one I lifted from the smashed curio cabinet. Plus, she admitted to taking the antique silver wedding steins. That's all pretty clear cut. But she mentioned having help. Who helped with the steins? Nathan admitted to helping Margot hide the antique silver wedding steins. But he's doing it for the right reasons. I promised I wouldn't tell, and I won't.
Who was the imposter? Albert.
Right. His geology and mineralogy books looked brand new because he'd never once consulted them. They were part of his disguise. That explains why he was examining that glacial erratic. He had no idea that it wouldn't be a good indicator of the geology in the area.
Yeah. We're going to burn all this after.
The report Albert wrote for Nessa demonstrated no knowledge of proper field report procedures, nor appropriate use of mineralogical terminology. He was definitely not a mineralogical expert. I wonder if he was even Belgian.
But why would you wonder that, Nancy? What was Kimi's true goal? Bird watching. What are the birds? Hold on. I want to make sure. Yeah, it's just birding. She was just a birder. I got this right before. I should have just been more confident.
After everything I've witnessed, I'm pretty certain that Kimi is just a keen birdwatcher who probably had the worst vacation of her life. Everything and anything can look suspicious if you're looking for suspicious activity.
Were Evan Richards and Nathan Cardinal friends or enemies? They're friends.
Their conversation in the conservatory indicates that they are similarly aligned when it comes to the fate of the lodge and lands. They also met up in the study after that first dinner. It was hard to tell if they were friendly then, but I did see them shake hands. They respect each other. Margot entrusted the antique silver wedding steins to Nathan. She trusted him, and Nathan was risking Nessa coming after him for those valuable antiques. Nathan was out late at night with Jack, and they were both helping Mr. Richards. I heard them talking about that. I recovered a sample of clear crystals from the salt at the lodge that didn't dissolve in water. I'm pretty sure that's what Nathan and Jack were trying to hide. Nathan and Albert had a clandestine meeting in the boathouse. Nathan had paid Albert for a mineralogical report that concluded the lodge and lands didn't contain diamonds. Nathan wasn't concerned about the truth. He just wanted to protect Crimson from becoming a mining town again. And Nathan helped me and Jack rescue Mr. Richards tonight. He's a true friend. Mr. Richards is lucky to have him.
Yeah. What were Jack and Nathan trying to conceal? Diamonds.
It is possible after all, but so far that is only a hunch based on the samples I've gathered.
Yeah, we have no asterisks around this, so this is Nancy using her room voice.
I'll need to verify my hypothesis when I get back to the museum.
Here we go.
I did see Nathan and Jack gathering something shiny from the riverbank, and I recovered this odd salt sample that didn't dissolve in water. These could be diamonds.
Where did Jack conceal the collected diamonds? Rock salt bag.
I did recover these clear crystals from the bag of rock salt. If these really are diamonds, the bag of rock salt in the smokehouse would have been the perfect hiding place. Who would guess?
Were Jack and Margot having an affair? No.
I'm quite sure Margot and Jack were just friends. He explained the meaning of their secretive boudoir meeting. He was helping her inject her medicine. Jack was a good friend to Margot and nothing more. He told me so, and I believe him. What's more, the evidence I found backs him up. I found his fingerprints in Margot's medicine kit.
One item suggests Nessa came to the lodge intending to threaten or harm Evan. The fake will, right? No, the almonds.
Mr. Richards is allergic to almonds, and Nessa knew that. She brought those Jordan almonds with her and filled that cut crystal bowl in the parlor, overt as you please. Nessa wasn't just being a rude guest. She was a bully. But at least she didn't get away with it.
You're exhausted. Decide to go to sleep instead of pondering these questions. After you've pondered each and every one of them and taken notes. You wake up the next morning feeling refreshed and ravenous. As you make your way down the upstairs hallway, you begin to smell the inviting aromas of coffee and bacon. You enter the kitchen and find the other inhabitants gathered around the table, digging into a hearty breakfast. An attempted murderer. Oh wait, no, and a murderer. But not a multiple murderer. You join in. I think the Suikoden 2 portion of this doubleheader is going to be truncated because this is taking longer than I expected. Which is not really a complaint. I'm having fun. Morning light is streaming through the small window, causing motes of dust to sparkle and dance in the light. Mr. Richards is slumped in front of his plate, eyes downcast.
Jack, you've already admitted to helping Margot hide Nessa's ruby brooch.
Sure did.
You'd said before that you and Margot planned to sell the brooch to help pay for the lodge's upkeep.
Yeah, she was trying to lay claim to the whole place, but she never lifted a finger to take care of it nor sent a dime.
You also said because of the state of things, you didn't see the point of executing that plan. But I think you should. What do you think, Mr. Richards?
Sounds good to me. That would be a nice thing for Nessa to indirectly do. She certainly wouldn't intentionally do anything good for anyone else. You hand the ruby brooch over to Jack. Thanks, Nancy. Ha! Maybe I can get a new mop.
You mentioned that Nessa headed out for Margot, and this was Margot's way of getting back at her.
Yeah, but I figured it was because Nessa was afraid Mr. Richards would bequeath the lodge and lands to Margot instead. Oh, she sure was. Nessa was dead set on making Margot go away, so the lodge and lands wouldn't end up with her. Which they never were, of course. I promised all that to Nathan and his family always and forever. Margot understood. I will admit to worrying about the fate of the lodge and lands from time to time. But once I learned how much Margot loved it here too, just as it is, I worried less. But when that fisherman found that diamond... Yeah, that was trouble. Nessa arrived. She recognized Margot's face from some old wanted posters. In a past life, Margot lived and worked in Skagway during the Klondike Gold Rush. She was just a kid. She made some mistakes, trusted the wrong people, but she told me all that. So it didn't work when Nessa tried to blackmail her into leaving Crimson. Nessa found another way to get the better of her. Evan's face falls and he clamps his mouth shut. Her secrets. You mean like in her boudoir on the first night you arrived?
Yes. I know we've already discussed that. You said the two of you were just friends, and I believe you.
Yeah. Jack helped Margot with her Salvasan treatments?
You knew about that?
Sure did. Jack helps her with that every night. I couldn't. Too squeamish. The injections were very painful for her. I couldn't stand to do them.
Well, that makes me feel better about that.
Margot knew Nessa and Corvus would rummage through her things. Her vanity has a lock, but she suspected it wasn't secure. In fact, she suspected it had been tampered with already. I kept the brooch in my pocket for a bit. When we were fixing to head to the garnet mine, I didn't want to bring it with me. So I nipped upstairs to a giant closet, pinned it to the underside of one of her hats, up on one of those mannequin heads. Yeah. Can you just, what the fuck? Oh man. I'm gonna stay in the city from now on, where folks are simple. I figured Nessa and Corvus return to the lodge. Should Nessa and Corvus return to the lodge, the last place they'd look is somewhere they'd already searched.
Kimi, I'm sorry that your birding trip was full of so much drama and tension, but I'm very glad I got to meet you. Thanks so much, Nancy. That's very kind of you. Yes, this was one of the strangest trips I've ever taken. So much unpleasantness and tragedy. But I don't regret coming here. Crimson is a beautiful place. Margot was very kind. Jack and Nathan really helped me feel at home here despite everything. And you, Mr. Richards.
Yeah?
I can see why you love Crimson so much. I love it too.
Aw, that's real nice. Thanks, Kimi.
And Nancy, I'm very glad I got to meet you too. You're one of a kind, brave and clever. No matter what happens, I'm sure you'll make your dreams come true. Thank you. Oh, that means a lot to me. I'll try my best. Nathan, I have to know.
Yes.
About the silver set of silver wedding steins.
I've brought them back this morning, now that they're out of Nessa's reach.
I really appreciate Nathan keeping them safe for me. Don't worry. You told me all about what Margot did. And they're right about me. I would have just given him to Nessa to make her stop harassing me. Story of my life. Never again. I was in the boathouse when you had your meeting with Albert.
You were?
Where? In one of the canoes, but never mind that. I saw and heard you buy a phony mineralogical report from Albert. I feel like you had Mr. Richards' best interests in mind, but could you please explain that to me?
Of course. I did that because I had Mr. Richards' best interests in mind. And mine as well.
What's this all about?
I didn't want to trouble you, Evan. Yes, I did pay for Albert to write a mineralogical report that stated there were no diamonds on the lands around the lodge. That would make the land worthless to Nessa, and she would stop bothering Evan and go home. Albert seemed to be not who he said he was. I've met mineralogists. He was no mineralogist.
I had a funny feeling about him too.
He was perfectly willing to prepare the document to say what I wanted, for a price. I still have it, with Albert's signature and official seal. With Evan's permission, I plan on mailing it to the federal government. We can be free of these troubles once and for all, as long as none of the 5 people here ever expose the fraud. So unfortunately, Kimi, as the only person not implicated, we are going to have to kill you.
To the garnet mine.
Yeah, let's do it.
You weren't the only one who paid Albert to prepare a false mineralogical report, Nathan.
What?
I found the original mineralogical report she'd paid for in Corvus's satchel. I read it, and it said there are diamonds on this land.
You wouldn't happen to have that version of the report, would you?
Actually, I do.
Ha! Good one, Nancy.
Albert was clearly a fraud, looking to make some money by producing false reports. They could never be considered official. I'm due to meet with Ranger Murdoch down in Tirana and be interviewed about everything that's happened. I'll be submitting this report as part of the evidence against Albert. I'll be writing my own field report about Crimson, considering the circumstances and my methodological work. I think the government would be keen to accept my findings. I have to know, are there diamonds here in Crimson?
Mr. Richards, Nathan, and Jack exchange meaningful looks.
I think you and Jack were picking alluvial diamonds out of the riverbank when I saw the two of you last night. I collected a sample from that area. I think Jack hides the little diamonds in the bag of rock salt in the smokehouse. I grabbed a handful of salt and dissolved it in water. Some of the crystals didn't dissolve. Nancy, there are diamonds in Crimson. We have to check the riverbanks regularly for ones that come down the river.
Over time, we've managed to extract most of the gems that are in the ground, but soil erosion also reveals them.
Every so often, we gotta go looking for more that have appeared. They're easiest to see by moonlight.
Evan used to help us. In fact, he used to do it all by himself.
Yeah, but I wore my back down, so it's now up to Jack and Nat.
Fortunately for us, not many people were around. It was a difficult secret to keep even then.
Yeah, until that fish swallowed that whopper of a diamond, and that lucky duck fisherman that caught it. Nothing but trouble that was. My goodness, I see.
Nancy, we know that your field work is very important to you. And we certainly can't prevent you from divulging anything you may have discovered here. We can only ask you to think about what that news could mean for Crimson.
We like it how it is now. I do too.
Me too. And so did Margot.
What'll happen now?
That'll partially depend on you, Nancy. You all pile into Nathan's automobile, except for Mr. Richards, so there isn't enough room in the 4-seater. I think, I don't know. I'm thinking right now about whether I just bail on the promise of getting some Suikoden 2 in, or if we're going to do a little bit of that. Definitely starting the anti-hero run next week. I'll have to double check the time because we're going to an afternoon drag show. He says he'd like some time alone anyway. He gives you and Kimi a nod, then turns away. As the automobile trundles away from the lodge, you crane your neck and take one last look.
I'm really gonna miss this place, in spite of everything.
You turn and face forward. The rattling of the rough road makes it hard to think. The only coherent thought you manage to have is, what will you tell your boss? And what could that mean for your future?
Thank goodness the bridge has been repaired enough to allow trains to cross it again. Repaired? Enough?
You are traveling light, Nancy. I wouldn't be too concerned.
Okay, Nancy. Train's gonna leave soon. Be well. Oh, but what about you, Kimi?
I've talked it over with Nathan, Jack, and Evan. I think I'll stay on for a bit.
It's been so tense here. I want to relax, enjoy the birds, and the fall migration is starting in a few weeks, and the leaves will be changing color. I've promised Jack that I'll help with the lodge chores. I'll earn my keep. That's wonderful news. I wish I could stay longer too, but I've got to get back to my job in the city. Good luck, Nancy. I'm going to miss you. I'll miss you too, Kimi. Be well. I'll miss all of you. Thanks for letting me stay with you. And please thank Mr. Richards too.
We'll let him know. You're made of pretty tough stuff, Nazi. Jack's been telling me how brave you were down in the mine. We're grateful for all you've done here. Goodbye, Nancy.
Yeah, bye, Nancy. Now go on, the train's not going to wait forever. Right.
You stare out of the train window. It's a clear, cool morning. As crisp and refreshing as it is this far north, you brace yourself for the muggy summer heat down by Tirana. Your mind is buzzing with all that's transpired over the last few days. Feels like you're returning home from a long voyage. You can't help but wonder, did you miss anything? Did you leave any loose ends? Would you like to be privy to some helpful introspective thoughts? Yes or no? Yes. You ponder the thoughts you had the previous night before bed.
I'm pretty sure that Nathan was Mr. Richards' friend. But did I miss any important details of his actions?
I mean, maybe.
What about the time Jack and Nathan met up in the carriage house? Could there have been a way to listen to them discuss things? Could I have hidden somewhere?
Yes, we didn't go back that far.
Did Nathan stand to lose anything by helping Mr. Richards?
Sure. Like he could have been arrested for fraud. I think technically I should have never had the characters saying Tirana, but then I should have always had the narrator say Tirana, and then have the narrator say a boat, like a proper East Coaster mispronouncing that word, and then let the upper Canadian say a boot. But these are things we can implement in the Crimson Diamond 2. Someday, hopefully.
He wasn't at the dining room meeting with Ranger Murdoch. I was going to ask Jack about it at the time, but he didn't seem to want me to address that. Maybe if I'd asked Jack about Nathan after that meeting, or even Nathan himself, I'd learned something interesting. Nessa's ruby brooch might have been helpful for me to scratch test my samples.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll reach out. I barely have enough time to do my own streams, so I'm never at anybody else's streams, but I'd love to pop in on one of hers. And I will yes, I'll do it. I'll train. I'll develop actual voices. I'll put the work in. I can do stuff pretty quickly. I went from wobbling in 1-inch block heel boots that locked around my ankles while doing a routine that basically involved standing still on the stage, to 11 months later, running and jumping around in 4-inch stilettos.
Nessa's brooch would be unharmed. Unless some of my samples are diamonds, of course.
I guess I was supposed to rub all the samples. Oh well.
I can't think of much else, actually.
Turn your attention towards your impending interview with Ranger Murdoch. Feel like you investigated Margot's murder to the best of your ability. After a good deal of mulling over, you conclude,
actually, I'm satisfied with all I've done. I am. Thank goodness.
Having reassured yourself, you fall quickly into a deep, dreamless sleep. You don't awaken until the train pulls into Union Station. Ranger Murdoch meets you at Union Station as arranged.
Ranger Murdoch!
Hello, Nancy. It's good to see you again. Would you like me to drive you home to rest?
No, thanks. I'm eager to have my interview. Let's go.
Right. Follow me. I hope everyone's excited for me saying dubs up again and again and again and again and again. Because one thing I do know about the thief in Quest for Glory is that you learn the secret thief sign so you could flash the sign to other people to get information from them. You look over at the wanted posters on the bulletin board and see a familiar face. Face has familiar features, but the expression gives you pause. It's not mistakenly Margot, but she looks scared and angry. And the name is different too. The Margot you knew was at peace, kind and caring. You feel fortunate to have met her when you did. Poster lists off her offenses as assault, theft, racketeering, public nuisance. Nancy?
Sorry, just lost in thought.
Ah, yes. That person has been on the most wanted list for a few years now. Skagway was a near lawless place. Sometimes who the criminals were was a matter of public opinion. And sometimes if you didn't make friends with the right people, you get stuck with all sorts of trumped up charges. Does she look familiar to you?
No, I don't recognize her.
Nancy knows what happens to snitches. Very well, let's begin. Suddenly, your boss, Professor Plummer, appears in the doorway. Nancy, there you are. Welcome back. I'd heard the train had come in. Sir, we're in the middle of a confidential interview. My apologies. I won't be a moment. Nancy, what did you find? Are the diamonds in crimson? I must know. Yes or no?
No. I'm afraid I didn't find anything significant, Professor. I managed to obtain some good samples, though. And I think I'll still be able to produce a good report for my fieldwork.
Well, yes. Your ability to produce a good report should not be dependent on notable findings. That's a lesson a lot of our students learned a few years ago when there was a huge chemistry cheating scandal. And a specific form of cheating was they were falsifying their lab data because they would do the experiment and then be like, oh, but the textbook says we should have got this, so let's just say that we did, and that we did everything perfectly, instead of just writing a lab report where they explain what they think they did wrong. Now, first-year chemistry students aren't allowed to take their data they have to turn in their data at the end of every lab.
It just won't be very exciting.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear it, Nancy. As for exciting, most research isn't. Don't worry too much about that. Come see me when you're ready, and I'll help you with your report.
Thanks so much, Professor Plummer.
Take care, Nancy. I'll see you soon. Whoa, he's out of here. Okay, now let's really begin. Any information you provide will be kept strictly confidential, of course.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We've detained Nessa Crabbe in connection with Evan Richards' kidnapping, Margot's murder, and attempted fraud. According to Mr. Richards, he was assaulted at the jetty, but it was dark out. He was rather inebriated. Do you have any evidence connecting Nessa to the scene at the jetty? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes, I do.
What evidence did you find? If there are multiple points to make, we'll discuss them separately. One-word answers will suffice. Shoe prints.
Actually, I only found Corvus's size 14 shoe prints on the jetty. Nessa didn't happen to step on the spilled whiskey.
Fingerprints, though, right?
I found Nessa's fingerprint on a shattered crystal decanter at the jetty. It was made of thick glass. It wouldn't have broken from being tipped over or dropped from carrying height. I think Nessa had a confrontation with Evan on the jetty, during which she forcefully threw the decanter down, causing it to break.
Well done, Nancy. Our investigators found that broken decanter and came to a similar conclusion. Did you find anything in areas besides the jetty that would connect Nessa to Evan's kidnapping? Yes or no? Yes.
Yes, I did.
What evidence did you find? If there are multiple points to make, we'll discuss them separately, etc., etc. Shoe prints are one thing.
I found Nessa's shoe prints in the wooded area near the jetty.
How do you know the shoe prints belong to Nessa?
Well, I've got a bit of a foot. I learned the shoe sizes of everyone at the lodge. She's the only one who wears that size and style of shoe.
That's some good detective work, Nancy. We knew about the shoe prints because we took impressions of Nessa's shoes when we took her into custody.
I tracked Nessa's shoe prints into the smokehouse. I think that's where she and Corvus temporarily detained Evan until they were ready to take him to the garnet mine.
Do you have anything else to share that would connect Nessa to Evan's kidnapping in areas other than the jetty? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes, I do.
What evidence did you find, etc.? Hair.
I recovered these hairs from the woods north of the jetty. I'm pretty confident they belong to Nessa.
You hand the long gray-brown hairs over. Wow. Our investigators didn't find any hairs. It's because I took every single one of them. I'll send someone over to take another look. The bulbs of these hairs are intact. That means they need to be ripped from the scalp with some force. That definitely implies she was part of a struggle in that area. I'm going to have to keep these hairs, Nancy.
Of course.
Do you have anything else to share that would connect Nessa to Evan's kidnapping in areas other than the jetty? Yes or no? Yes.
Yes, I do. I discovered Nessa's fingerprint on a Jordan almond fragment in the smokehouse, right on the candied shell.
That's fantastic, Nancy. Our rangers saw those Jordan almond fragments and noted them down, but they clearly didn't look closely enough at them. I'll tell the team to take a second look. Maybe run some laps or something.
Terrific. I think that's all the information I have about Nessa and the areas around the jetty.
Okay, let's move on. We believe Mr. Richards was being held in the lodge's smokehouse before being moved to the garnet mine. Did you find any evidence to support our theory regarding his unlawful confinement? Yes or no? Yes.
Yes, I did.
The symbol? No. The jam? Rope.
Yes, I found rope fibers on the floor of the smokehouse. I believe he was tied up and then taken away later.
Yes, Mr. Richards has said as much. Because, yeah, really, come on. We have eyewitness testimony, like firsthand. All the evidence we can gather will help us build a case against Nessa. How did you figure out that Mr. Richards was taken to the garnet mine? Symbol.
Mr. Richards had used the jam from Jack's thumbprint cookies to draw a hidden symbol.
Could he possibly have also been thinking about the wordplay? Does that seem like Evan?
The symbol was a red circle surrounded by a round red border.
Red.
It was raspberry jam. I tasted it.
Tasted it?
Yes, it was delicious. The symbol even represented the thumbprint cookies, which I learned are called Hallengrata in Swedish. Hallengrata means raspberry cave in English.
And a raspberry cave could be a garnet mine?
Exactly. Mr. Richards was talking about the garnet mines at dinner on the night I arrived in Crimson. He said they'd been deserted for years. It was the perfect place for them to hide him. Mr. Richards told us that Nessa was attempting to intimidate him into signing a forged...
Mr. Richards told us that Nessa was attempting to intimidate him into signing a forged copy of his own will. Do you have any knowledge that might back up his claim, yes or no?
Yes. Yes, I do.
I've got the fucking will. No? What? Just the almonds again? Fair. But I really do think also here's the fucking forged will. Also, I saw it. Like, eyewitness testimony too.
Mr. Richards is allergic to almonds and has been since childhood. It was common knowledge, and Nessa brought Jordan almonds with her when she returned to the lodge. I found shattered pieces of Jordan almonds in the smokehouse where I believe Mr. Richards was briefly held. I managed to recover one of Nessa's fingerprints from the remnants of one of those shiny candy shells.
Stellar work, Nancy. Our investigative team didn't find that.
What's more, there were more Jordan almond pieces in the cave where Nessa brought him. There's no doubt in my mind that Nessa brought the Jordan almonds to the lodge knowing full well how dangerous they were to Mr. Richards. Maybe at first she only planned to intimidate him with them, but in the end, she was prevented from doing any worse.
Let's move on to Corvus Shaw's role in Mr. Richards' kidnapping. Do you have any evidence that could connect Corvus to these crimes, yes or no?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Got the fucking will. Nope. Okay. Gotta remind myself. I really think we're underplaying the fact that Nancy has the fucking will. Maybe. Will comes later. Okay. Two pieces of evidence. I don't think it's the button. Oh, it is. Right. That's where I found the button.
I found this metal button, which I recovered from...
And then his fucking shoe prints. Right. We're talking about the kidnapping. The fact that we moved forward in our other discussions. Anyway, okay.
I found this metal button, which I recovered from outside the smokehouse. I observed Corvus wearing a striped vest with this exact type of button that very same night. If you examine Corvus's clothing, I'm sure you'll find that one of his buttons is missing on one of his vests.
We did indeed make note of a missing button, and now we know what happened to it. This is a very good piece of evidence, Nancy. May I have it?
Of course.
Do you have anything else? Yes.
I found Corvus's shoe prints on the jetty, in the woods leading away from the jetty, and leading into the smokehouse. The shoe prints on the jetty must have been formed when he stepped into the spilt whiskey, and they were still wet. That suggests to me that he was either present during the abduction of Mr. Richards or soon after. Considering the scuff marks I saw on the jetty, Mr. Richards was dragged away with some force. I doubt Nessa, an elderly lady, could have dragged her brother away with that amount of force, which is the same fucking reason, Nancy, that I really do think you could have just wrestled the knife away from her. We didn't have to have the dangling off the cliff or the padlock thing. But hey. That's terrific work, Nancy. Our investigators didn't see any shoe prints on the jetty. They must have dried up before we got there. Yeah, or you're fucking incompetent. But now we know that they're there. Perhaps some forensic processes will help reveal them. A Mountie always gets his man because Nancy collects all the evidence to make the airtight case. I think Corvus's movements during that time are pretty clear.
Very thorough of you. Every bit helps.
I think that's all the information I have connecting Corvus to the crimes against Mr. Richards. Except for the fraud, but I guess we're addressing that separately.
Okay, let's move on. What about any lesser crimes? We suspect Corvus was brought to the lodge by Nessa to commit fraud. And it's true that fraud is a lesser crime. But in this case, the evidence of the fraud is clear evidence of motive. So it's still evidence of the murder. Means, motive, opportunity. Anyway. Do you know anything that would help us build that case, yes or no? Heck yes.
Yes, I do. I found Mr. Richards' last will and testament in Corvus's satchel. It stated that Nessa was to get everything after his death. Although it hadn't been signed by Mr. Richards, and the writing was in Corvus's hand. That seemed pretty fishy to me.
Very interesting. Do you happen to have that document?
I do. Here you go.
You hand the questionable document over to the ranger. Thanks, Nazi.
You're welcome.
And what about Karl Leffler, aka Albert Respa? What can you tell me about him? Rangers apprehended him in the middle of his sabotage attempt on the Sulok, so that's an open and shut case. But we suspect this man is involved in other illegal acts. Do you think you can attribute other criminal activities to him? Yes or no?
Yes, I do.
Please continue. What have you discovered? The false report, right? Fascinating. You wouldn't happen to have that field report, would you?
As a matter of fact, I do.
You hand the field report over. Great work, Nancy.
It's not worth the paper it's written on. Any mineralogist will tell you that. The Geological Survey of Canada would never endorse it. I'll be writing my own field report, which I'm hoping the Royal Canadian Museum will publish. I'm proud of the work I did. With any luck, my report will be a newly definitive survey of Crimson Ontario,
with just a wee bit of fraud.
Sorry, I got a bit carried away. Back on topic. I was witness to a secret meeting in the boathouse between Nathan and Albert. I clearly heard Albert saying the contents of the envelope he was carrying was a report, signed and sealed, that there were no diamonds in Crimson. Nathan paid him for this version of the field report. I wish I had something to show or tell Ranger Murdoch about that. I'm sorry. I was mistaken. Can we continue?
Of course. If you have something else you'd like to tell me about Leffler, just say so. Or say no, and I'll ask about something else.
I think Carl sabotaged the train bridge. On the same strip of telegraph tape that revealed Albert's real name and next target for sabotage, it said, "Well done in Crimson." Wait, probably that was "Well done in Crimson." I found a stick of dynamite under his bed. I think it rolled there when he was packing to hurriedly leave the lodge. On the way to the lodge on that first night in Crimson, Jack commented on how heavy Carl's set of luggage was. I bet most of Carl's luggage was dedicated to hauling explosives equipment, dynamite, and blasting caps. In fact, I found a tin of blasting caps that Carl left in the lodge, as well as a bullet. He was definitely up to no good. He'd stored the blasting caps and bullets in the blue trunk in the upstairs closet. I found his fingerprint on the padlock.
Outstanding. Very well done.
Gee, thanks. Carl's fingerprint is on this tin of blasting caps. He definitely handled them.
Excellent work, Nancy. May I have the tin? It's very compelling evidence.
Of course. Here you go. Carl knew to store the dynamite separately from the blasting caps.
Only an expert.
He probably had training with explosives, or at least some prior knowledge. And I'm almost certain that if Rangers search the immediate area around the bridge, they will find discarded luggage, possibly part of the same set with explosives residue inside.
This is very helpful information. We originally suspected Leffler of the bridge sabotage, but hadn't thought to search the luggage for luggage that matches the set he was carrying when we arrested him at the Suloks.
Why not?
That would be a very compelling connection to make should we find such an item. Speaking of items, do you happen to have this telegraph tape?
I do. Here you go.
You give the telegraph tape to Ranger Murdoch. Thanks, Nancy. Do you have the bullet you discovered?
Absolutely. Here it is.
You hand the bullet to Ranger Murdoch. Thanks, Nancy. Do you happen to have the padlock with fingerprint on it? That would help strengthen our case against Mr. Leffler.
I do. Here you go.
But how does she have it? I guess maybe Jack at some point provided the key. Okay. There. We have a Watsonian explanation. Amazing work, Nancy. If you have something else you'd like to tell me about Leffler, just say so. Or say no, and I'll ask about something else. Other criminal activities. I don't think so. There is one more. You don't know why it's relevant. I might as well. I've got the cigar butt, don't I? Or do I not? I guess at some point we loaded around me having required it.
No, I'm afraid not.
Okay, moving on. Finally, Margot's death. I mean, I kind of feel like, we can rest comfortable with Nancy's contribution. Luggage, reports, and bridge. Oh well.
Margot's murder.
It does appear to be the case. We're looking into it. Do you have any evidence you'd like to give me that could help us make a case for Margot's murder? Yes.
Yes, I do.
I'm glad to hear it. Please show me one item at a time. When you're done, just say so. Oh, the, fly paper. What? The jar.
I recovered this jam jar from the river by Crimson Lodge. I think it's a key piece of evidence against Nessa regarding Margot's poisoning.
You hand the jam jar over to Ranger Murdoch. Thanks, Nancy. What can you tell me about it? How do you think it could be relevant to the investigation?
I'm not sure. I just have a feeling.
What the fuck are you talking about, Nancy? Oh, I didn't do fingerprints on the goddamn jar. We'll see if our forensic team can lift any fingerprints from this jar. That could really help our case.
I wish I'd thought of that. What's more, I overheard Nessa having a conversation with Corvus in the apple orchard. She admitted to soaking flypaper in glass jars to obtain poison, storing it in her flask, and tossing the jars over the waterfall.
That's pretty incriminating, especially if the evidence can back up your story. In fact, we confiscated a silver flask from Mrs. Crabbe when we took her into custody. We'll be sure to test it for poisonous substances. Thanks. Do you have anything else to show me? Margot's hair.
I took this sample of Margot's hair after she died. I'd read that hair analysis can sometimes help determine cause of death.
Yes, indeed. I can't make any promises, but this could help with our investigation. Although also in theory, they could have got all the hair they needed from the actual body. Thanks. Do you have anything else to show me? I don't think so, do I? Can I just talk about Margot's illness? Yeah, let's just... Okay. Crystals, the wire cutters, the key. Odd. I mean, this is another case where I feel like whatever the game says we did in the end, I think we can rest assured thinking that Nancy absolutely provided enough evidence.
No, I'm afraid not.
Okay, moving on. Well, I think that does it, actually. Thanks for your time, Nancy. Pardon me. You head home after completing your interview with Ranger Murdoch, and immediately set to work on your field report of Crimson. You write at length about the samples you've obtained and the observations you've made, though you do leave out a few details. such as that there are diamonds in Crimson. Professor Plummer proves to be an enthusiastic and patient mentor, despite his mild disappointment at the unremarkable findings. You impress him with your attention to detail and hard work. Together, you produce an impeccable field report that is published by the Royal Canadian Museum and eventually endorsed by the Geological Survey of Canada. Your first publication, Nancy, a real feather in your cap, and it's only mildly falsified. And in a really humble way. Falsified to remove the notable findings. Weeks passed. Soon you're immersed in your regular life. You become an expert on the filing system. You even suggest some ways to improve it. You find yourself missing the fresh air, the roaring waterfalls, and rushing rivers of Crimson. You wonder if you'll ever hear about how things are going up there. Till one day... And there you are, Nancy. I thought today's newspaper might be of interest to you. You start reading the newspaper. There we go. That's what we want to see in the newspaper. Crimes of the North. Nessa Crab's image dominates the front page of the paper. She's being charged with Margot's murder, her brother's kidnapping, and attempted fraud. The article mentions that Nessa's alleged accomplice, Corvus Shaw, is being charged for his role in Margot's murder, Evan's kidnapping, assault, and attempted fraud. You're relieved to see no mention of Crimson anywhere, not even in the smallest news items. Figure no news is good news. You would think it would get mentioned in the story about the murder. There's no mention at all about Albert's, Carl's, attempted sabotage of the Sulaks. Only that there will be minor delays due to routine maintenance.
They probably want to make sure there aren't any more explosive devices in and around the locks. And Albert succeeded.
You shudder to think of it. You skim the rest of the newspaper, but nothing else catches your eye.
That's a relief, I suppose.
Too bad about the whole diamond fiasco, eh, Nancy? But we both knew it was a long shot. Good work today, kiddo. See you tomorrow, bright and early.
Yes, sir.
You start the long walk home. You're relieved the Crimson won't become an open pit mine, and the Kimi and her Cormorants are safe and happy. I do appreciate that the moment we padlocked Nessa, it just freed up the animations.
Hey, Nancy. Another late night, eh? I've got a bit of stew saved up for you. Kept it nice and warm on the stove. Thanks, Mrs. Williams. I'm starving.
Go in, lass. We'll serve it up.
I'll be down in a bit.
Okay, lass. Take your time. Mrs. Williams ladles a hearty bowl of stew and slices a bit of bread for you. Food is delicious and warms you to the bone. I don't have any mental conception of how to do a Welsh accent, but there's a Welsh queen on Drag Race UK right now, so I've had a lot of fun repeating her lines. There's just no holistic understanding of what it all means. So hopefully there's no Welsh character in the no Welsh thief in the thief's lair in the guild when we do the anti-hero run. Mrs. Williams ladles a hearty bowl of stew and slices a bit of bread for you. The food is delicious and warms you to the bone. She sits with you and the two of you chat about the goings-on in the neighborhood. You're grateful she rents you a room so cheaply. Museum clerks don't get paid very much. Once your bowl is full and Mrs. Williams has washed the bowl, she waves you away from this menial task. You step lightly upstairs, lest you wake the other lodgers. Such a considerate person for someone who also instinctively just starts rummaging through somebody's home. Boom. Full-on shot of Nancy's feet. No close-up. No Tarantino-esque close-up. You fall asleep as your head hits the pillow. You're exhausted, and tomorrow will be another exhausting day. But every exhausting day is another step closer to making your dreams come true. Well done, Nancy. Well, Nancy was already a citation on WikiFeet for several people's entries. But now she's got her own page. Apologies if I'm, making. I just assume the way that WikiFeet works is that although obviously it's there to show you pictures of the feet, that they're also doing some documentation of like known shoe sizes and stuff. If that's inaccurate, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to imply some sort of expert level knowledge. I have no brief for or against feet, personally. You pick up the envelope. It's from Mr. Richards. There's a bit of bulk to it. You're surprised that the envelope fit under the door. Throw a conjunction in there, maybe. Fix the comma splice. You open the envelope and read the letter inside. The letter reads, Dear Nancy. Nope.
Evan. Dear Nancy, I hope you're well. Me and Jack are doing well, so is Kimi. She's hanging out around the lodge. She's been helping out around the lodge. I'm grateful. Kimi still plans on staying to see what the fall bird migration will look like in Crimson.
This turns out to be Nathan's. God damn it.
I've told her about the birds I've seen in previous years. She seems excited. You're a good soul. Now that things have calmed down, I've had the time to rest and think on things. I wanted to say thank you. I've no doubt you'll make your way in this world, succeed on your own terms. And thank you especially for caring about what happened to Margot.
Okay, this makes me hope it is Evan.
And doing something about it. Nessa will be behind bars the rest of her life. From what I hear, she quite likes the strict rules and routine. I'm just relieved Nessa will never intrude on my life ever again. Thanks. My gal Margot lived a whole other life before she met me. I know all about it. She told me. I knew she was sick. None of it mattered to me. I just wish I'd died first. But never mind about the past, Nancy. Let's talk about the future. Margot was a very successful businesswoman up in Skagway, which is what brought her unwanted attention from unsavory people. She had to do certain things to protect herself, including leaving town quick. She had to leave some things behind. She buried them, told me where. Now I'm telling you where.
Coordinates and directions enclosed.
If you're up for an adventure, seek out what you buried. It's all yours, you earned it. But wait for spring to set in. Take the time to plan the journey. Skagway's a long way away, so I've enclosed something to help you pay your way there. Take it to a jeweler with deep pockets and sell it. If you'd rather not make the trek to Skagway, sell it and use it to pay for your education, your dreams, or just enjoy life. It's up to you. Nathan sends his regards, which reminds me, I've already transferred ownership of the lodge and lands to Nathan. I should have done that a long time ago. I'm living in his house now. We all are. Take care, Nancy. You're welcome at the lodge anytime. Nathan says so, and so do I.
Not that it fucking matters, man. It's not your lodge anymore. Let it go. Signed, Evan Richards. You unwrap the little bundle of cloth and are stunned to find yourself holding Margot's white garnet necklace.
Oh. This probably isn't a garnet.
You can't resist the call to adventure. You sell the necklace and spend the bleak, monotonous winter months in the city, planning your trip up to Skagway. At long last, the weather becomes warmer. You book a train trip out west. By the time you arrive in Vancouver, it's the start of summer. You manage to book passage on a large fishing vessel up through the Georgia Strait, along the coast of British Columbia, and into Alaska. Careful, Nancy. You never know what these Americans are going to do. From there, it's a quick jaunt up the Lynn Canal on a smaller fishing vessel and into Skagway proper. The fisherman drops you off at the dock bright and early, tells you he'll pick you up at the end of his workday, after which you spend the night in Juneau. You head into the wilderness, fending off the largest black flies you've ever seen. Eventually, you find the spot that Evan described in his letter. Was this where you heard Skagway before? Or did you just remember another place where... This is it! A note has been added to your notebook. Oh my goodness. For one thing... Yeah. What on earth about the programming? Aha! Yep. That would explain it. Epiloguery. Maybe that could be the second game, Cedric. I actually thought we were getting the setup for the sequel. Not that we were going to play right now. Look around. While the area close to Skagway's dock was broken down and abandoned, this area is resplendent with natural beauty. The sky is clear. Newly bloomed wildflowers are sprinkled on the steep rocky hill. Endless mountain ranges stretch into the distance. Oh, cool. I'd never heard of the Yukon Trail. Anyone ever heard? There's a really good oral history of, I think it was called Freedom, which the creators of the Oregon Trail tried to apply the same concepts to a game to educate children about the Underground Railway. And it went horrible. Like, it's a very well-intentioned story that goes horribly wrong. Look at the ground. Oh man, Nancy's still carrying a lot of this stuff. Hold on, let me see if right now. Yep, here it comes. Dropping this link in the Discord before I forget. Suffice to say, one thing that they did, one choice that they made, that you can see what they were getting at, why they did it, and also it's horrible. You can also understand why it's horrific. Right, of course, Cedric. Thank you. But one thing they did, dig under the bush. Okay. One thing that they did was they consulted with some historians and decided to do period-appropriate dialect for the escaping slave characters. Like I said, well-intentioned, but then in practice you just think, I kind of wish this was not the way we did this. You excitedly use your trusty trowel to dig under the bush. You don't have to dig very far down before you hit a wooden cigar box. Inside the cigar box, you find a purple velvet drawstring bag and an envelope. There's a letter inside the envelope. You unfold it and start reading aloud. If you're reading this, it means I never made it back here to retrieve this box. That could be for many reasons, but the two that preoccupy my mind are the following. Number one, that I managed to find a place where I belong, among people who love me, and that I never felt the need to return. The other is that I'm dead. But, hey, put your hands together, Margot. But, seeing as this is in the middle of nowhere, I'm going to hope you are someone I care about, and that I told you about this. Whomever you are, friend or stranger, whether you came to this by love or luck, you're welcome to it. All I ask is that you tell no one where I came from, because I did find the contents of this bag near Skagway, in a secret spot. One day, I hope this area will recover from the harm that was done by the gold rush, by people like me. It is my fervent wish that nature reclaims Skagway and that the waters will run clear once more. Be well. Signed, Margot. You carefully open the drawstring bag. Inside you find gold nuggets of varying sizes, the largest of which is as big as a walnut. Oh. Wow. You take the bag of gold nuggets and put them in your pocket. It doesn't feel right to leave the box empty. With a flash of inspiration, you realize exactly what you should do. You place your samples from Crimson into the cigar box. Back into the ground where they belong. I'll keep your secret, Margot, if you'll keep mine. Good job, Nancy. You carefully rebury the cigar box beneath the bush. Margot picked a perfect spot to conceal her treasures. Even now, you can hardly tell where you just dug. I suppose that's that. And now, based on my completion time, do we get to see Nancy in a bikini?
You take one last look at the mountains and rolling hills and wonder what Margot was thinking and how she was feeling as she stood in the spot. I wish I could have told you about the peaceful, beautiful place you'd find and the people you'd meet who'd care about you. Goodbye, Margot. Goodbye. You trek back to the dilapidated dock. The fisherman is waiting for you, his nets full of halibut. You thank him for waiting, tell him you had a lovely hike, and board his vessel. It's time to go home. You couldn't resist keeping one of the blazingly bright red crystals. She gives us a winning wink. You did a good job with sussing out the motives and actions of the other guests, but you missed the mark on a few things. You scored 21 points out of 24 during your pre-departure ponderings. I'll take it. You performed satisfactorily during your interview with the Ranger, but you could have been more helpful. Fuck off, Ranger Murdoch. If a civilian ever helps a murder case that much, it is churlish to be like, you could have really wrapped this entire case up for us, Nancy. You scored 17 points out of 19 during your interview. I'm comfortable with that. You could have done better in your investigation and reporting of Margot's death. You did your best. You scored 3 points out of 8 for your Margot investigation. What? Carl Leffler, aka Albert Ressler, was tried and found guilty of sabotage of the railway bridge, attempted sabotage of the Sulaks, espionage, fraud, theft, a litany of minor charges. He was incarcerated at Kingston Penitentiary until his death, 12 years later, of a heart attack. The Sulaks were patrolled by the Northwest Mounted Police for the duration of the Great War, and no other sabotage attempts were made. So total waste of force deployment. Thanks to his vigilance, Canadian supply lines along the Great Lake waterways remained uninterrupted. They played an important part in Commonwealth war efforts and crucially contributed to the Allied victory. Gorvis Shaw was found guilty of being an accomplice in Evan's kidnapping, forgery, and attempted fraud. You helped clear him of the charges involving Margot's death, because you've been privy to the conversation he had with Nessa in the orchard. He was disbarred, served 5 years in a medium security prison. Upon release, interesting. Well, you know what? I think I deserved it, so I'm glad they gave it to me. Upon release, grateful for your assistance in partially clearing his name, he dedicated himself to community service. Margot was laid to rest in Crimson's lushly overgrown cemetery in an informal service attended by Evan, Jack, Nathan, and Kimi. It was a consolation to the attendees that Nessa was brought to justice for all her crimes. Kimi Kishiro stayed on at the lodge until after the autumn migration of birds, when she returned to Vancouver to be with her family. From then on, she'd visit Crimson for the spring and autumn migrations, as well as the cormorant's nesting season every summer, 3 visits a year. Kimi's family's doing okay. The Kishiros. Jack remained at the lodge, continuing to take care of it, even after Evan legally transferred the lodge and lands to Nathan Cardinal and his family. When Jack became old and creaky, the Cardinals in turn took care of him. Nathan Cardinal and Evan Richards arranged the transfer of the lodge and lands to the Cardinal family, effective immediately. Considering recent events, they agreed it was a good idea. The secret of the Crimson Diamonds remained hidden. Nessa Crabbe was found guilty of Margot's murder, the attempted murder of Evan, kidnapping, and attempted fraud. She was sent to the newly constructed Northwest Wing of Kingston Penitentiary, earning the unenviable distinction of being one of the most serious female offenders to be incarcerated there. She died behind bars before serving her full sentence. Evan Richards peacefully lived the rest of his days in his beloved lodge. Upon his death, he was buried alongside Margot and his parents in Crimson, which is exactly what he wanted. Crimson remained a haven for wildlife of all kinds. You continue working diligently as a clerk at the Royal Canadian Museum. Eventually, you're accepted at the University of Toronto in the Department of Geology and Paleontology as an undergraduate. And I understand, this is reasonable, but she needed publications through the Royal Canadian Museum to get in as an undergrad. Professor Plummer spoke highly of your fieldwork in Crimson in his letter of recommendation. I'd like to think also that Nancy was part of the whole suffragette movement, but not a eugenicist. Not that there's an inherent connection between women's suffrage and eugenics.
just the historical connection of the progressive movement. Highly of your fieldwork in Crimson is a letter of recommendation. Although your findings weren't revolutionary, he tells you that impeccable, exhaustive work, regardless of result, is the bedrock of any scientific discipline, and that he's very proud of you. A few months later, you receive a letter from Ranger Murdoch, praising your investigative prowess and tenacity in bringing Margot's killer to justice and helping to foil a sabotage attempt at the Sulaks. He says you're a natural detective, and that he hopes your paths will cross again someday. Thanks for playing. Thanks for making the game, Julia. This was a friggin' great game. And really nailed the same Colonel's Bequest thing of the mystery and the willingness of the game to let you get to the end without solving the mystery. Doing a great replay value thing. It doesn't just tell you what you missed, but it gives you the vicinity of what you missed. And then when you go back, you get to see the whole thing in more fullness. I think there are things that I like. I do think like the setting of the Colonel's Bequest is a little cooler than, not that I don't really appreciate having a game set in Canada. And I think the Crimson Lodge was I can understand why Julia Minamata designed it first. And I was like, well, I like this place too much. I need to become a game developer. Yeah, it's very impressive work that she did the entire thing herself. Not the music, but enough of the rest of it. I would love to see what she could do with a small team to take the more technical parts off her hands. Not that this was a technical mess, but we did have that weird thing where literally up until the point that I cuffed Nessa to the wagon in the wheelbarrow in the climax, in the climactic scene. Until that point, the animations felt kind of locked into taking longer to load, running slower than what they suddenly did after that. But just a terrific game. And you're right, Holmes, that it definitely this is not one of those cases, and it's not necessarily a bad thing when you do that, but you play something like Shovel Knight, and it's using an 8-bit aesthetic, but it's not really. It's got parallax scrolling and way more colors than probably even the Sega Master System, which had more colors available than the Nintendo Entertainment System could even handle. This game, yeah, it looks like it's right out of that era because she obeyed the constraints of EGA graphics. And yeah, a very impressive one-woman show. Well done. Well executed. And quite frankly, I am persuaded enough by the quality of this that I think Julia Minamata, even if she's not a musician, could have taught herself enough to do a soundtrack herself. But I think she also clearly made the right call by outsourcing that, because she went up with a terrific soundtrack in her game. Yeah. So I think, geez, I should have just. You can tell that I'm so eager to get back to feeling normal around here that I was like, I will definitely have time to do Suikoden 2 tomorrow as well. I was not expecting it to take me 3 hours to play through the climax properly. And then do the epilogue and denouement. But yeah. So yeah, no Suikoden 2 today. We'll get back to it next week. And we'll start the anti-hero run next week at a time that I will make clear on the schedule. Probably pretty early in the morning. Since, like I said, going to an afternoon drag show. And, yeah. This was great. This is really, really good. Great job of taking up the mantle of the Colonel's Bequest, which, as far as I'm aware, even the sequel to the Colonel's Bequest didn't do. It's not quite like the Colonel's Bequest. There's a lot less variation, I think, in when you can trigger things. It doesn't have the time system as strictly. But as I went, I gradually realized, no, this is more than just, the narrative feel of the Colonel's Bequest, but in a more straightforward adventure game. This was like a mystery that you could solve or not solve to varying degrees. Very well executed. Great characters. Very down to earth in a way. Like we have some basic cliche characters. Our plucky detective girl, our miserable old spinster villain, things like that. But they're all well executed. And I enjoyed spending some time with them over these past several weeks. And yeah, just really cool. I hope this is not the last we've heard of Nancy Maple. I'm fond of this character. I would love to see her again. And Julia, maybe I'll swing by one of your streams and say this, but we have evidence here in the chat. There's at least some demand for a compact disc version of this game where we add my voice acting for all the characters. And I promise I'll do a better job than I actually just do on the streams. Hit me up. Let me know. Or maybe I should reach out to you. I mean, I should, even just to say, like, sweet game. I'd be utterly flattered if you left a brief comment on one of my YouTube videos after watching a few minutes. Yeah. And how often do you get that level of approval for an idea? It's usually always some dissenter. Yeah. All right. So no Soigen 2 today. So I'm sorry for lying about that. I just want things to go back to normal. It's going to be a little while, I think, before things start feeling normal again. And honestly, depending on how successful I am at kicking off my drag career, that might fuck up the idea of having normal. But I mean, there are worse reasons to suddenly have an even more erratic stream schedule than that every now and then you get to go dressed as a girl and everybody tells you how pretty you are. If you haven't tried it, folks, I do recommend it. Okay, so where are we going from here? I want to believe in my heart that this is it, and we're going to do this right and do all 4 of the regular streams in the coming week. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But right now, the skies are clear for Greg and James on Wednesday. Are we doing a little more Ghosts and Goblins, or are we playing beat 'em ups? We don't know yet, so that's exciting. You'll have to tune in to find it. Back to beat 'em up soon, for sure. We're going to return to Greg and James and Ghosts and Goblins intermittently to get the whole series. I was deeply naive. Ooh. Okay. I'm wish casting it right now. 2028, we get the Laura Bow, Nancy Maple crossover. A slightly older Nancy helping Laura. Holy smokes. Okay, I gotta look into that. Wow. Cool. Anyway, yeah. Obviously, the novelty of a game set in Canada is cool, especially, I like novel settings, period. It's one thing that I love about the Quest for Glory games. But a novel setting that is the place that I'm from, at least sort of. Julia, if you're, gonna do another Nancy Maple mystery, but you're still spitballing ideas, holy shit, Halifax explosion recovery era Halifax. That'd be a cool setting for a game. One of our fair city, I was about to say one of our fair cities claims to fame. Definitely our biggest claim to fame is prior to the invention of the nuclear weapons. The biggest man-made explosion ever was here. It's a terrible thing. But it probably would make for a cool game setting. A few years in the aftermath of that, they're still putting the city back together. People are traumatized. The Great War also, a lot of trauma. Who knows? All right. So yeah, Greg and James on Wednesday. I think we said Friday Night Frosthaven on Thursday. this week, but I gotta check with the guys. But hopefully some Frosthaven. I'm almost positive. On Saturday, I can't think of anything that's gonna stop us from playing Suikoden together. Suikoden 2. Fingers crossed. And then next weekend, at long last, no more delays. Where's my wooden coaster? Knocking on wood. No more delays unless, something happens. Knocking on wood again. We're finally doing it. The anti-hero run. I will portray a character who is a jerk, which is something I can only really do in role-playing games if I commit to it in advance. Ooh, cool. I had one last thought that was forming. Oh, yeah. Despite the fact that when I just go into it without a plan, I always roleplay a goody-goody. Yeah, no, I realized what you meant. That is fun. I saw some mention of Halifax in something recently. Got all excited, but I can't remember what it was. So then. Oh yeah, the anti-hero run thing. Even though I do fall into just being goody-goody if I don't commit otherwise, maybe I'll get Rich to testify. Rich and Greg could testify. So I'll get them to testify on Frosthaven that when I commit to my role-playing game character being a just garbage, like Shoshana, my drow bard in our Kingmaker campaign, she sucks. She's a fun character, and we all have fun with her, but she's not good. And her actions are not good. And her actions, I've played her in one other campaign. Her actions can kind of enrage people who really want the role-playing to be serious and focused on doing well at the game. Anyway, that's another story for another day. Crimson Diamond. Sweet. What a game. Drag my Switch 2 up here for nothing. Just not doing Suikoden 2 today, but hey, this is awesome. Yeah, so every now and then I should say the whole, if you're not following, I don't know why the hell you wouldn't. If you're here, you can see how fun it is, right? Like, what does it cost you? You can also subscribe, which does, I think, cost you. I mean, I know it costs you something. And I don't care if you do, but I'm flattered if you do. I couldn't really make a good pitch for that. If you want to come to the Discord, there's an invite link in the About section, in the About section, as Nancy would say. And we chat about stuff there now and then. The performance of the Toronto Blue Jays, board games that Stimpinski's bought. One day, if I got Wingspan for Christmas last year and still haven't played it. Maybe I can use guilt of, I'm going to have this for a year, babe, to get Danielle to play it. And we'll get some in, and I'll tell you how I like Wingspan or anything else. And then also, if you want to see everything but the evidence of me doing a death drop, there's a link to a video of my performance of a song from Hades 2 at a recent drag show. Ooh. I've heard cool things about Raiders of Scythia. All right. Onwards and upwards, friends. Can only get better. Or worse. Or stay the same. There's no other possibilities. You stuck around to the end? Thanks for sticking around to the end. If you came and you left, then you can't hear my voice. But I'm glad you stopped by anyway. So thanks for stopping by. And until the next time, when I swear it's actually going to happen, we're going to do the anti-hero run of Quest for Glory. Take care of yourselves. And be kind to everyone you meet.